In 1929, Alvar Aalto designed the Pioneer Sanatorium, using modernist principles, and revolutionized how modern hospitals are designed and built. Aalto's approach of designing for the emotional benefit of the patient using modernist ideas would become fundamental to the design of hospitals. Alvar Aalto was a Finnish designer and architect who worked in the early 20th century. He studied architecture at the Helsinki Institute of Technology from 1916. For much of his early career, Aalto was a functionalist, which, according to Britannica, is the doctrine that the form of a building should be determined by practical considerations such as use, material, and structure, as distinct from the attitude that plan and structure must conform to a preconceived picture in the designer's mind. Put simply, in his early career, Aalto prioritized function and practicality when designing, similar to modernism in many ways. Later in his career, around the 1930s, he would adopt a more organic style, embellishing his designs with organic shapes, taking inspiration from the landscape of Finland. Aalto's most well-known project, the Pioneer Sanatorium, was designed in the transition period of these two methods, and shows signs of both techniques, with the design one of functionalist modernism, while areas like the entrance have very organic shapes to them. Built between the years 1929 and 1933, the sanatorium would be what gave Aalto international acclaim. Aalto would treat every design he made like a work of art, and would eventually move into the world of glasswork, creating his now iconic design for a vase that utilized both modernist techniques and organic shapes to create the unique look of the piece. He would eventually win the Kahula glassware design competition in 1936. From the 1950s onwards, his architectural practice designed public buildings such as the Seinäjoki Town Hall, the Jyväskylä Institute of Pedagogics, and the House of Culture in Helsinki. Previously I mentioned modernism without explaining the term. Modernism is the design idea of embracing new modernist techniques and rejecting the ornamental history on which the design industry had been founded. It rejects the traditional decorative styles of design that came before and embraces the more practical standards, like form follows function, meaning that the design is built around how the object in question must function, rather than working function into a design later. Modernism is about rejecting the traditional and instead innovating around what is needed for the future. By extension, modernity is about designing for the everyday experience of the everyday person, thus designing for the everyday needs. Alvar Aalto utilized modernist materials and technologies in creation of the Pioneer Sanatorium by using the then very new material of reinforced concrete. The technique used to create this material involves setting concrete around steel rebar in order to strengthen both materials. Nowadays, it is often used in construction work, for ceilings and walls in large buildings. But when Aalto was organizing the construction of the Pioneer Sanatorium, the use of reinforced concrete was a new technology, and considered to be a very modernist technology. As with most modernist designs, the Pioneer Sanatorium was designed with purpose in all facets. When designing the sanatorium, Alvar Aalto put careful thought into all aspects of the building. For example, the roof of the sanatorium is a soft grey, designed as such in order to minimize the glare and bright light reflecting off of the roof and into the eyes of the patients, thus making for a more pleasant stay for said patients. Similarly, the sinks within the sanatorium were designed to minimize noise, again to benefit the patients. Keeping in line with modernist principles, the exterior of the building is simplistic, without excessive ornamentation. It is a pleasant white with brightly coloured blue and orange highlights, mostly adorning windows as sunshades. Furthermore, the sanatorium makes use of large windows in each room, allowing for natural light and heat to enter the areas while also giving patients an outside view from their rooms, as well as access to fresh air which serves the function of benefiting the patients, which is the overall purpose of the building. The functions of the building are designed according to what the people need, not to what had been done before. These design decisions also follow the modernist principle of form follows function, as the building was shaped around what it needed to be, not what would make it look best, nor what had traditionally been done before. The idea of modernism is to design using the principles of form follows function and of designing for the people. As previously discussed, both of these ideas are utilized in the sanatorium. For example, previously mentioned large windows adorning the walls on one side of the building. Each room in the sanatorium is designed for the comfort of the patients, with large windows to catch the morning sun, as well as give patients a window to the outside world, which was a far cry from previous English hospitals, which had small windows that were often inaccessible to patients, making the hospitals feel unwelcoming and enclosed. Alvar Aalto designed his sanatorium using modernist ideals to best benefit the patients, creating a welcoming environment to help promote a change in thought as to how we treat patients and help them overcome their illnesses. Planned during the rise of modernism, the Pioneer Sanatorium was initially designed to cope with the then epidemic of tuberculosis that was plaguing the country. Being without a cure, the only treatment for patients suffering from the disease was time, to be watched over in a hospital by professionals who could help take care of the patients. An observation by Florence Nightingale, a nurse during the Crimean War, from within her diary in 1860, was that being able to see out of a window instead of looking against a dead wall, and that the bright colour of flowers, the being able to read in bed by the light of a window close to the bedhead, were quite perceptible in promoting recovery. She elaborated on this by writing that, "It is generally said that the effect is upon the mind. Perhaps so, but it is not less so upon the body, on that account." This idea of a pleasant environment in hospitals was never realised until Aalto's sanatorium, wherein he designed the place to be colourful and bright, a welcoming environment. This style of hospital design would eventually become widespread in its methodology of making the comfort and well-being of the patient a priority to help promote their recovery. Numerous of the most well-renowned hospitals of modern times are designed to accommodate the comfort of the patient, featuring large windows and bright aesthetics to help encourage a healthy mind state. The sanatorium would inform the design of many hospitals after it, which would take on its modernist ideas of creating a positive environment for its patients. One of the hospitals that followed in the legacy of the Pioneer Sanatorium is the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, more specifically following the renovations that occurred in 2005. Whilst the main hospital has been around for longer than the Pioneer Sanatorium, in 2005 it received major renovations that changed much of the hospital, most importantly the overall look of the building, inside and out. The hospital's design is one of openness and welcoming. Like the sanatorium before it, the Royal Children's Hospital has large windows opening into the rooms, allowing natural light inside, as well as a clear view outside for patients. The Royal Children's Hospital also has wide open areas for ease of access to patients, much like Aalto's sanatorium. The hospital also innovates on the original ideas of Aalto by making more liberal use of colour, as well as having more decorations within the building, such as the cylindrical aquarium and the large sculpture named Creature by Alexander Knox, located in the atrium. These embellishments further add to the comfort of the place, making it more welcoming to those who need to stay at the hospital. The Royal Children's Hospital takes the ideas that Aalto set up, creating a place that was welcoming to guests, and innovates upon it. Alvar Aalto Sanatorium would become a trailblazer for the hospitals that followed it. Its modernist philosophies of designing for the patient's benefit to keep them happy and healthy would inform design choices for many modern hospitals around the world, as seen with the Royal Children's Hospital, which built upon the groundwork Aalto laid down to even further progress the modernist ideas presented within his sanatorium.